Have you ever wondered what it would be like to linger in someone's mind, effortlessly, like a melody they can't stop humming? Picture this. Without flooding their phone with messages, without bending over backward to impress, and without chasing an impossible ideal of perfection, you hold the power to spark an unshakable connection. Just 3 carefully chosen words, delivered with raw intention, can ignite a fire that burns long after you've left the room. This isn't a gimmick, a fleeting trend, or a scene stolen from a Hollywood rom-com. No smoke, no mirrors, just the electrifying truth about how attraction weaves its spell on the deepest psychological level. In a world where attention is fleeting and distractions are endless, what if you could master the art of leaving an emotional imprint that refuses to fade? Today, we're diving into the secrets of human connection, unraveling the subtle yet powerful forces that make someone think of you, dream of you, and crave your presence. Buckle up, because this journey is about to change the way you see attraction forever. And if you're ready to unlock more mind-blowing insights like this, hit that subscribe button and join our community of curious hearts exploring the art of love, connection, and influence. Let's make sparks fly together. According to renowned psychologist Carl Jung, the connections that impact us most aren't rational. They're emotional and symbolic. It's not what you see that draws you in. It's what that image represents in your unconscious. That's exactly where we're going. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." So why not learn how to speak to a man's unconscious mind right from the first moment? Most women start conversations with polite, neutral phrases, a simple, "Hey, how are you?" or "How's your day going?" And that's it. No spark, no energy, no story. What happens then? He responds out of courtesy, but his mind doesn't linger on you because what you said didn't stir an emotion, didn't create a mental image, didn't make him curious. Without emotion, there's no memory. The mind doesn't record words, it records feelings. Jung made this clear. It's emotion that anchors a memory. So it's not that you did something wrong, you just weren't using the right tools. But that's about to change, because when you learn to say the right words with the right energy, you don't just grab his attention. You trigger something in him he can't quite explain, but also can't ignore. That's when you start living in his mind, even when you're not around. Before I tell you those 3 words, take a moment. How many times have you tried to start a conversation and felt like it just didn't go anywhere? Probably more than once. That doesn't mean you're not interesting. It just means you are using language that doesn't activate his emotional instincts. Now, listen carefully. These 3 words are not a magic spell. But when used wisely, they can completely change how he sees you. Once you use them naturally, the difference is powerful. The truth is, a lot of women think they need to impress, to be liked, to look flawless, say the right thing, always be charming. But the truth, and Jung knew this well, is that the male unconscious responds far more to symbols than to logic. In other words, it's not about being perfect. It's about touching something emotional inside him. You don't need to talk about extraordinary things to do that. You just need to stop sounding like every other woman. Think about it. If he hears the same kind of messages or comments from several women a day, it all blends into background noise. But you're not here to be background noise. You're here to stand out. The mistake isn't in approaching him. The mistake is in doing it without impact. When that happens, it's like you were never even there. Worse, some women try to make up for that with intensity. Long messages, over-the-top compliments, constant questions. But that backfires. It feels invasive. It pushes him away. So how do you grab his attention instantly? First, stop speaking like you're reading from a script. Second, remember attraction isn't born from what you say. It's born from how you say it and how it makes him feel. Picture this. You walk into a coffee shop and see that man you're into. Most women would say something like, "Are you waiting for someone?" Or, "Can I sit here?" It's polite. It's safe. It's also forgettable. Now imagine instead you give him a subtle smile and say, "You and I have to settle something. Is the coffee here actually good, or just pretending to be?" See the difference? It's not just a line, it's a spark. Can you feel the difference? It's not just a line, it's a moment, a small twist that breaks his routine, pulls him out of autopilot, and makes him pay attention. That's the kind of impact. Emotional resonance, a subtle echo that lingers in the mind, even if he doesn't fully understand why. Because when you spark that, you begin to be remembered. Once he remembers you, he starts seeing you differently. So it's time to move past empty greetings and forgettable phrases. In this game, you either leave a mark or fade without a trace. Now that you understand why, you're ready. The words are, you and me. Yes, I know they sound too simple to be powerful, but the magic of these words doesn't come from how long they are. It comes from what they imply. When you say you and me, you're not just throwing out a random phrase. You're painting a mental image where the two of you are already connected. You're projecting a shared moment, planting the seed of a possibility, a scene where he can already picture you in his world. Psychologically, that's far more powerful than it seems. Jung spoke often about the symbolic language of the unconscious. A phrase like you and me becomes exactly that, a symbol. It sparks imagery, awakens subtle desire, and opens a door to what could be. Because you're not asking, you're suggesting with elegance, with certainty. Think about it. When you say, "Do you want to go out with me?" You're handing over all the control. You're waiting for approval. But when you say, "You and me should go out this Saturday," everything shifts. It's no longer a question. It's a confident vision. That leaves a trace. Let's try a real example. You're getting to know someone. The conversation is flowing. Instead of saying, "I love talking to you," which is sweet but expected, imagine saying, "You and me could have dangerously good conversations." Feel the shift. It's playful, it has spark, and most importantly, it plants the idea of a you two in his head. That's how you start being seen differently. Why does this work? Because these three words communicate three qualities men deeply admire in a woman. Confidence, you're not asking, you're declaring. Clarity, you know what you want and say it clearly. Initiative, you're not just waiting for him to make the move, you take the lead when it counts. But be careful. This isn't about tossing out you and me to every man you meet. The impact of these words depends just as much on how you say them as when you say them. If you say them with insecurity, eyes down, or a trembling voice, the magic disappears. But if you say them with calm confidence, a soft smile, and direct eye contact, the effect is completely different. So next time you're talking to a man you truly like, instead of falling back on the usual empty phrases, try a well-placed you and me. Watch what happens. Because in attraction, as in life, the right words said with the right energy can open doors you didn't even know existed. Now, the real question: how and when should you use that phrase to make sure it lands? You already have the key, you and me. But using it randomly could ruin everything. This isn't some mantra you repeat without thinking. It's a spark, one that only works when used with intention. Rule 1. Choose the right moment. These words work when there's already at least a small connection. You don't need explosive chemistry, Just a natural, flowing conversation and a little mutual interest. Let's say you're talking about music and discover you both love the same band. Perfect setup. Try something like, "You and me should catch one of their concerts sometime." What did you just do? You planted a seed. Now he starts imagining that moment with you, without you asking for anything. Rule 2. Tone is everything. You could say the most powerful words in the world, but if you say them like you're scared of being heard, nothing will happen. Confidence isn't loud. It's quiet certainty. That's the energy that turns you and me from a phrase into a spark. So take a breath. Stay calm. Look him in the eyes and say it like it's the most natural thing in the world. Not with over-the-top seriousness, not with a nervous laugh, just with that calm, confident energy that says, "I know my worth." Third rule, the context has to be on your side. If he's distracted, tense, or you've just met, don't force the moment. The phrase loses its magic if it doesn't match the flow of the conversation. Most importantly, make it sound authentic, not like something you practiced in front of a mirror, but like a spontaneous, genuine thought that came from the moment. Jung often spoke about synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences that feel like they were meant to happen. Aim for that kind of energy. Let your words feel like they belong there, not like they were manufactured. Because there's a thin line between someone who naturally creates attraction and someone who tries to force it, and you can feel that difference. The first one believes it, and it shows. The second one is just acting. Use it well. Say "you and me" with the right tone, at the right time, with a steady gaze, and watch how his perception of you shifts. Now let's talk about the biggest mistake that can ruin everything. Too much enthusiasm. Yes, the phrase can be powerful, but imagine this. You've just met a guy, and suddenly you blurt out, "You and me need to go out this Saturday." Result? Awkwardness, distance, bye-bye chemistry. Not because the words are wrong, but because you're using them too soon. Attraction isn't forced, it's suggested. It should feel light, like a breeze, not like an order. Say it with too much intensity, and he'll feel it as pressure, and nobody responds well to pressure. Practical example. You're having a fun conversation, there's chemistry, you're both laughing. Perfect. That's when you casually drop, "You and me would make a dangerously good team." You're not asking anything. You're not pushing. You're just planting an intriguing little seed. Now, change the scenario. You've been talking for 5 minutes, and suddenly, with a serious tone, you say, "You and me should be together." The effect? Not attraction. Alarm bells. You'll sound like you jumped 10 chapters ahead without even reading the first few. Another fatal mistake, overusing it. If you throw out "you and me" every time you speak to him, it stops being charming. It starts sounding desperate. The power is in the subtlety. Use the phrase as a spark, not as a slogan. Because when it comes to creating real intrigue, less is more. Mystery will always be more seductive than insistence. For it to work, use it once, maybe twice, at the perfect moment. Then let go. Let the silence do its work. Because the true power of these words isn't in the immediate reaction. It's in the quiet seed you plant. Sometimes he won't react right away, but that doesn't mean it didn't hit home. He might spend the rest of the day thinking about that one casual thing you said. Something so simple, so effortless, but somehow unforgettable. The most common mistake, saying "you and me," and then waiting anxiously for validation, watching his face like you're hoping for approval. That kills the mystery. But if you drop it naturally, than just keep talking like nothing happened. That's when it lingers. That's when he starts wondering what just happened. Confidence, ease, no desperation. That's the winning combo. Because when you say those words like a woman who knows her inner power, you open a door. But if you say them from a place of need or insecurity, that door slams shut before you even get close. Now comes a part that almost no one talks about, but it's crucial: body language. You already know what to say and when to say it, but if your body doesn't back up your words, they lose their strength. As Jung said, the body expresses what the soul cannot say, meaning your gestures speak louder than your words, even before you open your mouth. If you say, "You and me should go out this Saturday," but you do it with a low voice, looking down, shoulders slouched, as if you're asking for permission, you kill the energy. Because your body is saying, "I'm not sure about this." And if you're not sure, he won't be either. But if you hold eye contact for just a second longer than usual, with a soft, relaxed smile, your message doesn't just reach his ears, it lands directly in his unconscious. Because confidence, when it's not arrogant, is deeply attractive. Your voice should be calm, unhurried, as if what you're saying is the most natural thing in the world. Because to you, it is. That calmness sends a powerful message. I don't need your approval, but if you're in sync with me, this could be interesting. Pay attention to your body language too. If you cross your arms, shrink yourself, or avoid taking up space, your body is signaling discomfort. But if you're relaxed, claiming your space without stiffness, you're projecting effortless confidence. It's subtle, but it's noticeable. Imagine you're having a light, playful conversation, and you say, "You and me would make a dangerous team." If you say it while looking down, in a low voice, and without expression, it's just a phrase. But if you say it while looking him in the eyes, with a soft smile and calm tone, it becomes an emotional hook he won't be able to ignore. Now, there's one mistake that can ruin it all, even if you say it perfectly: being too focused on his reaction. You don't need to watch him like you're waiting for a verdict. Just say it, and continue the conversation as if it were nothing. That "I'm good with or without your reaction" energy is magnetic. Because the most attractive thing isn't just what you say, it's the peace you say it with. Yes, this goes beyond romance. So far, we've talked about how this phrase can transform attraction, but let's take it to other areas of life. You're in a meeting with coworkers and a tough issue comes up. Instead of saying, "We need to find a solution," you calmly look at someone and say, "You and me can figure this out fast." What did you just do? You gave them confidence, showed you trust them, and created an instant sense of partnership. You're talking to a friend you haven't seen in a while. Instead of saying, "How have you been?" try, "You and me have a long overdue conversation." What could have been a cold, polite exchange suddenly becomes an emotional invitation. What Jung referred to as relational archetypes is activated when we use language that fosters connection. This phrase, "you and me," is like a master key that opens the door to connection in every area of life. Because in the end, what we all want, whether in love, friendship, or work, is to feel like we're not alone, that someone sees us, includes us, chooses us. With 3 words, you can spark that feeling if you use them consciously. You know that common phrase, "We should catch up sometime"? Sounds nice, but it rarely happens. Now feel the shift when you say, with a smile, "You and me need to catch up this week." You feel the difference instantly. It's no longer a vague possibility. It's a clear, direct invitation that shows your intention. That, believe me, creates a completely different kind of connection. The best part? When you start using "you and me" naturally, you don't just change how others respond to you. You change how you feel about yourself. Your confidence grows. Your communication becomes sharper. Your presence becomes magnetic. Then something fascinating happens. People start responding to you with more attention, more openness, more real interest. Why? Because deep down, every one of us wants to feel like we're part of something, that we matter. When you look at someone and, with 3 simple words, make them feel like there's a shared possibility, you're giving them just that, a sense of emotional belonging. Jung said that the things that transform us most deeply aren't what we think. They're what we feel in relation to another human being. That's exactly what you activate when you use you and me with authenticity. You spark a shared emotion. You create a space where connection can take root. So, don't limit this phrase to romance. Take it into your everyday relationships. Use it with your friends, your co-workers, your family. It's not about seduction, it's about connection. When you say it from a place of genuine connection, you'll notice your relationships become more authentic, more fluid, more human, because in the end, what truly makes us unforgettable isn't what we say. It's how we make others feel when we say it. Words have power, yes, but only when they're spoken with intention, with presence, with awareness. You and me isn't a trick. It's not a scripted line. It's an emotional tool, a bridge, a gesture that, when it comes from the right place, can shift the tone of a conversation, the direction of a relationship, and sometimes even the course of a life. We've seen how this phrase, so simple on the surface, can transform interactions, spark attraction, and deepen connection in just about any context. But remember, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it, with calm, with confidence, at the right moment, like someone who doesn't need to impress anyone, but knows exactly what she's worth. Because real attraction isn't about pushing, it's about inviting. It's about creating authentic moments and leaving space for the other person to lean in. No pressure, no pretending. Now, it's your turn. Don't just keep this in your head. Try it. Use you and me with intelligence, with ease, with charm. Watch how the atmosphere shifts, how the energy between you changes, how your confidence begins to grow from within. If you found this content helpful, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. There's much more coming your way to help you communicate with greater impact, confidence, and authenticity. Hit like if you want more tools like this, and let me know in the comments. Has someone ever made you feel truly special just with their words? Because real communication isn't about talking a lot. It's about being heard with a purpose.